And we are now live. Paul
Cool.
Bridges, thank you for joining me, my man. How's it going?
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. A little bit rushed around this morning for some reason. Things haven't really gone to plan. How about you? How's everything your end?
Yeah, it's all good. Just did a class this morning, same as every day, starting at 9 o'clock. Doing jiu-jitsu, some gi, some no gi. Obviously, it's been busy, then quiet this week, and busy, then quiet, because as you can see by the Christmas tree in the background, we're just about to hit Christmas. So, yeah, and everyone's on Christmas dues and kind of doing Christmas shopping and doing family stuff. But yeah, but it was really busy today, because I think now we're so close to Christmas, everyone's trying to get that training in just before the turkey hits, and they got to like drink their, eat their own body weight in turkey and mince pies and drink themselves into oblivion and all that stuff people love doing. Yeah. So yeah, they're trying to get the training sessions in beforehand.
Cool, man. So for people that obviously don't know maybe who you are or what you're about, tell me and tell the people that are listening about your background and kind of your journey.
Well, my background, I mean, if everyone's listened to a podcast before, we'll make it quick, because they've probably listened, maybe they've listened to this kind of stuff before anyway. Yeah, I mean, my journey just started off as most people in very traditional martial arts. Started off in karate, first of all. Did that when I was very young, made it all the way to black belt, and got in freestyle karate. I got my black belt in 1995. Started teaching, and then from there, 95, shortly after I started teaching, got my black belt, watched UFC 2 with Royce Gracie. Couldn't get UFC 1, really weird. I don't understand why they released UFC 2 first on VHS, as in that's how ancient it is. Yeah, so they released that first of all, and then I watched that, blew my mind, and kind of been on the jiu-jitsu journey ever since, really. And how many ever years later it is, almost, is that nearly 25 years coming up, which is crazy.
Yeah.
It just makes me feel old. Yeah, it's 25, almost 25 years later. Yeah, I'm still doing it, and yeah, I couldn't be happier with the choice. Obviously, because now I do it for a living as well, so it's obviously it's made a big impact on my life, not just through the art itself, but through being able to kind of make a living out of it at the same time, which is amazing, because for most people, they never get the chance to do what they want to do, or do their passion, or do a job of what they're passionate about. Most people, like myself, for years and years, went to work to make money, just so you can live, so you can eat, so you can pay rent, so you can pay a mortgage and stuff like that. So be able to turn that into an actual living of where I can earn money, to be able to afford to live, which is, the most beautiful thing ever. And yeah, it's a great experience.
Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of strive for that. Like they want to attempt that. Do you know what I mean? Something they're passionate about, they want to convert into their income. For example, I can use myself with podcasting to say, I want to make money from doing this. I'm passionate about it, but unfortunately I'm not able to at the moment, so it's kind of like a side hobby, so I still have to go and pay bills and things like that. So it's about persistence, I guess, as well. I assume you have a lot of that.
I mean it's only in the last 5 to 6 years, or whichever, or not even that, to actually start earning any kind of money out of it, it's only been the last few years, which we've really turned a corner of the academy, because of the growth of jiu-jitsu, and it's becoming more popular, it's becoming more professional, which is an amazing thing. But it's only been the last few years of where the numbers have grown that much, because obviously if you've got a shop and only 3 people are turning up every day, then you're never going to be able to make a living out of it. But now it's so popular through different means, and it's more in the psyche of everyone. They know what jiu-jitsu is a little bit more. because of things like the UFC, and obviously there's great strides made from the jiu-jitsu community itself to push the sport forward and make it more professional, start paying athletes, things like that. So it's drawing more people in. I mean, you will see, if you watch things like UFC Fight Pass, I mean, there was just one that went this week, last weekend? I forget, last weekend or the weekend before, where they had the UFC, like it was a grappling event, but it was Quintet, I think it was Quintet Pro or Quintet Legacy or something like that. But it's the Quintet Kazushi Sakuraba, his event, Quintet. It was on the UFC Fight Pass, and they did Pride versus UFC, Bellator, or whoever it is versus WEC, stuff like that, where you had all the MMA fighters in a submission-only jiu-jitsu event go up against each other. And when it's drawing in, and you get some of these events now that are drawing in high level, like the last Polaris had Luke Rockhold on it, going against Ricky Rod. And the thing is, to draw them people in that they want to actually be involved with jiu-jitsu matches themselves just shows you the slide of the popularity. And plus that will hopefully bring more fans maybe that would be interested in MMA but not so much in the jiu-jitsu to go, oh man, this is an interesting sport as well. And you know, it's kind of got its own style and its own edge and its own kind of culture about it itself that, you know, is very interesting. And especially if you're a person that, you know, doesn't, because there are some people that don't like watching people get their head shin kicked into oblivion. There's a bit, but it is. I mean, for some people, they love that, but you know, not everyone's the same. Some people, the MMA style might be a bit bloody, but they like that competitive combat nature. And you know, jiu-jitsu is fun. It's like, say, you could do a jiu-jitsu tournament one day and then do one the next day, but you could never do that in MMA because it's too damaging. Yeah. So I mean, but the thing is about making a living from it. Yeah, man, it's like I say to people when they go, oh man, they come into the academy and people see pictures online, and I'm sure people that, you know, they look at very popular or very good jiu-jitsu academies and very successful ones, and they will turn around and they see, oh man, they've got like 35 people on them. Man, if I open my own academy, maybe I could get that. And yeah, sure, some people would. But when people look at it, they go, oh man, you're so lucky. But I always say to people, I'm like a 25-year overnight success. I've been doing this for so many years now, and teaching for so many years. You know, you can't, just like the jiu-jitsu itself, to be good at the jiu-jitsu, being efficient with the technique and being able to be, you know, very efficient on the mat and be effective and all that stuff is one thing, but teaching is another as well. So some people will go, well, man, I'm you know, well, I'm a tough guy. I've won gold medals at this competition and that competition. So that naturally means that I can run a session and run a class and run a club. And some people, yeah, some people can. But they're both completely two different skill sets, being able to run a very, what I would call a successful academy. And for me, a successful academy doesn't necessarily mean, all right, this is the toughest academy there is. It's like tough guys. Yeah, you know, tough guys are everywhere. Yeah, there we go. I was saying tough guys are everywhere, right? Mm-hmm. Just like me taking the iPad out. Tough guys are everywhere. But the thing is, just because you're tough, it doesn't necessarily pass over into, okay, because I've won 15 gold medals at, you know, European World Championship, Pan Ams, you know, I've got this belt, I've got that belt, doesn't mean you're going to be the best trainer. It's like they always say, who would you rather be coached by, Mike Tyson or Cus D'Amato, who trained Mike Tyson? You know, and that's the question. I'm sure Mike Tyson, his wealth of knowledge, he could teach you many things, but I know where my answer would lie. I'd rather go with Cus D'Amato because he's proven himself as a teacher. Yeah. And the man man. Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, it takes, that in itself takes a long time, and I'm still working on that all the time. My wife Ali, she's got a degree in advanced learning and teaching and stuff like that. So, and she was in obviously she was an assistant principal in the school system. Now she works at the academy full time, and she does alternative provision for schools through the academy. So she's still working with academies and schools all the time, but we bring the kids in that don't settle in, or Ali does, not me. She runs daytime sessions with the kids that cannot that don't fit in so well at school, or they're struggling at school and they're hard to control. So we bring them in, and it's been very, very successful what she's doing. She's been able to get a lot of the kids back into full-time education, integrated back into the schools through what we're doing, through the jiu-jitsu and through all the measures that she's making day by day with them kids. So the thing is, and me and Ali always sit down and talk about, you know, not just so much about, okay, what armbar are we going to teach today? What kind of chokehold? What's the latest innovations in jiu-jitsu? But okay, how are we teaching? What's the best method? Which is the best way to interact and talk to people? Which is, you know, how do we structure the classes? How could they be structured better to get the most out of people's time? So if you come in for 1 hour, that 1 hour you're going to get the most out of that time. There shouldn't be any wasted time throughout that. And if things are not working, we come back and we look at it and we address it and stuff like that. And sometimes it's hard, because as a person, you know, Ali will say to me now and again, and everyone's got like their own little ego. I mean, my ego is very minimal, but everyone's got one, right? So now and again she'll say, oh, you did this today at the class, and I don't think, and there's that instant knee-jerk reaction of like, well, I've been doing this like 20 years and it's worked so far. So, yeah. But then I'll go, okay, take my ego out of it, listen to what the person's saying, listen to what my wife said, and then go, is that true or is that false? And generally, you know, as everyone who's married or is in a relationship, the guy's usually wrong, and then, as I always say, my wife's always right. And I will sit down and think about it and go, well, actually, that's really true. But I've got to take myself out of that equation to listen to, not let me get in the way of the usefulness of the information, and think, okay, yeah, actually, I'll try that. Even if I'm like hesitant about it, what I'll do is I'll pick it up, I'll try it, I'll integrate into the class, and then see what the reaction is. And if it's better, we'll use it. If I don't think it is, maybe I won't, or maybe I'll adjust it a little bit. You know, to maybe think, well, it's not working because I've got to tweak it a little bit this way or that way. So, I mean, and that's an ongoing thing. And I'm learning all the time how to teach. And I've been teaching since I've been like 18 years old, 17, 18. I've been teaching martial arts. And I'm still learning every day. And it never ends as well. The way I can try to, you know, be the best at doing that, as much as doing the jiu-jitsu and trying to be as efficient and as effective as I can be with the jiu-jitsu. The same thing applies to the teaching. So I think when people turn around and go, oh man, you know, it's so busy, it's like, you know, like I've just picked it up and got it straight away. No, I'm continually, like everyone out there that trains jiu-jitsu or MMA, man, it's an ongoing thing. It will never end. And that's what I find. I can never get good enough, and I can never master it. All I'm trying to do is kind of sharpen the craft, you know what I mean, and make it as good as I can possibly make it. That's all.
I mean, it's also, I think, a good quality that you're able to sit down and kind of talk about your sessions and look at how you can improve them, and still have that kind of, I guess, thirst to constantly learn.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you're never done learning. It's like, okay, that session was good. Well, how can we improve, and how can we improve again? And I think that's such a good thing to have, because there's a lot of people that can get to a certain level of, whether it be teaching or fitness or whatever, and they don't think they need to improve anymore. And I think even the world's best or whatever they still need fine tuning in some way or another.
Well, that's the amazing thing with jiu-jitsu in itself is, I say to people, man, I'm learning stuff every day. every day I'm learning a little bit more, or you know, a slight adjustment on this, or I realized that I was a little bit off with this, so you know, I will kind of learn a better way of doing something, or an adjustment which makes that technique a lot more effective and easier to use. And I'm better now than I was last week or 6 months ago. And that's the thing, and it does kind of shock me that it's the never-ending riddle. You can never solve it, and even when you think you have, the further down the line I get, and the more I learn, it is that you hear it over and over again, and I think you kind of got to walk that path to truly believe it. And you know, and I've been been training in the martial arts so long, and especially in jiu-jitsu, and the amount of hours. I mean, I'm on the mat every day, every single day, and I've not stopped for like 20 in jiu-jitsu for like 25 years. I've been doing it week in, week out, non-stop. And now I do it multiple times a day, non-stop. And the thing is, the more I learn, the more I realise I don't know. And it is that old adage that people say. Yeah. And it does sound a little bit funny, because you think, well, if you know more, then the more you learn, you'll get closer to the end.
Yeah.
But you just realise that it's one of them things. I think, you know, one of the best sayings I've ever heard is kind of, it's the real skill or the wisdom is knowing what you don't know. You know, it's kind of, everyone thinks they know, but I realise I really don't know anything. And it's that white belt mentality that I've always been an avid learner, and I'm always trying to learn and learn, and I never feel like I'm actually there, or I've actually, all right, yeah, now I'm this good, so that's it. Because I think once you think you know, that's the death of any art form or anything. Once you think, yeah, man, yeah, I'm the best, I've got this, you know, no one can be better than me, or, you know, I'm the best around, or whatever it is, and be very self-serving with your attitude towards yourself, then as soon as you think you know, you're dead in the water. And I truly believe that, with especially with things like jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. I think it's having that white belt mentality, that open mind to go, okay, I'm willing to learn, and I'm willing to learn off everyone as well. Whether it's a guy that starts in his first lesson and he's never done jiu-jitsu before, and I watch him roll, and he does something that counters something I've never seen it before, I'll take note and go, man, that's interesting. I've never seen anyone turn away and escape that way, because the way I've been taught since day one is turn in. I was involved with like a super seminar at GB Fulham a little while back, which is Legato's gym in London. And there was a lot of different black belts that were teaching on the day, and it was part of the ambassadors program, so we could raise money for the up and coming youth squad of Gracie Baja. So we do events like that to raise money to help them go to competitions, which is a great thing to be involved with. And so a lot of different black belts turned up to teach on that day, and I showed a back escape kind of little system that I've been working on for quite a while, and it's probably not unique to me. I'm sure there's other people that do it out there, or do a version of it, but I showed a lot of guys that. And even Legato is one of the greatest jiu-jitsu guys of all time, and one of my best friends in jiu-jitsu, such a great guy. He was like, oh man, I've never seen, that's like the opposite of what I've been taught since day one, but it works so well. I can't believe going the wrong way, but doing it that way works so efficiently. And he was like, man, that's show me that again. And that's the thing. And sometimes just picking up something and working with it, and always trying to develop it and staying open-minded, to not go, okay, well, this is the way it's always done, so I don't need to learn anything else. Always having that fluid mindset to kind of, you know, just work with it. And the thing is, you'll know soon enough. If you've been doing it for 3 months and everyone's choking you out, maybe you should leave it on the shelf and try a different strategy. But sometimes what you find is you'll do something and it works really well, but you've just not spent enough time mastering that part of the game. But it's the same thing. I'll do that now and again, of different positions I would naturally end up in, but I'm maybe not that strong now, I'll force the role or the training session to let the person maybe get on my back, let the person get into a position just so I can get the flying hours on working that position over and over and over again. And I always say to people, sometimes when I roll, I let people jump on my back, let them get the mount, and it's almost like I'm being generous, but I'm being really selfish because I'm like, I want to work that position. So even though they're like, oh yeah, I'm great, I'm on Paul's back, and right, I'm going to try to strangle him, I want that challenge just so I can get the minutes in trying to work my escapes and trying to and it's a risky game because the better guys you go with, if you haven't quite mastered the escape route yet, you could get tapped out, you could get kind of stuck in that position for a long time and have to really kind of work to get out of there. But at the same time, we need to kind of do that to just develop and play with it and have fun with it, you know. So that's what I find is having that open white belt mentality through doing just the training jiu-jitsu to be effective at the art itself, plus with the teaching as well. Yeah, you need that, and I think that goes across in all life. It's just to, you know, question what you think you know, and be open-minded and you know, just take a back seat and sometimes just sit there and listen, like I do. You know, I'm a very observant guy. I would sit there and just watch people and listen to people and try to. One of the best things I ever learned was to take myself out of the equation, not let me get in my own way, not let me get involved, and just go, okay, what's the information? How do I take that? How's the best way to apply it? And don't let me get in my own way, if that makes sense. Because I think some people will be like, oh well, you know, I'm already good at doing this, and I'm you know, and I don't need advice from some blue belt. I'm a purple belt. I've you know, you should be listening to me. If that's your attitude, then that guy might have the best advice that you've ever going to hear in your life that could help you so much. So take it and assess it, and if it's useful, use it. If it's not, discard it. You know, and it's but you've got to take that moment. But it's that. But being open-minded is the only way you can really do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is as well, you've got to have an understanding that certain things you may think you're good at, someone else may be better than you at, even if they're ranked lower, or your forte may be choking someone out, someone else's forte may be footlocks. Do you know what I mean? So then it doesn't really matter about the belting system too much if it's close together. It's kind of like, well, how did you adopt that and how are you doing that? Well, let's learn off each other, rather than that kind of egotistical, like, well, I'm above you, so don't worry.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, this is the thing, and a really good example of that, which would have been not so much now because it's more integrated into the jiu-jitsu system. People have accepted it. But if you take, for instance, footlocks, that you'll go back 5-6 years, and a lot of jiu-jitsu black belts would have rudimentary footlock game, like a straight footlock, maybe a toe hold, stuff like that. Me included. I had pretty good footlock game. I pulled quite a few footlocks off, even from blue belt to purple belt and stuff like that. But it wasn't the same as the game that's today. This is much more complex. The setups are better. And the thing is, if you're a black belt and then you'll go, yeah, man, my footlocks are okay. It's like, yeah, I don't need to learn that because I've got such heavy pressure and I'll arm lock and choke you. And then you go into a match with a really good blue belt who just works footlocks and he's got all the new nuances and setups, and you go into that, it's very, it's possible that blue belt could tap out a black belt, because if he drags you into a game that he plays better than you do, and you know, I've been there before where I'm in a competition and you feel you get dragged into a position of where you know that you've got dragged into the guy's strong point and he's playing the game better than you are, and it's very hard work to get out of that web. And that's what I always say to people, that, you know, you've got to kind of understand, study and respect all aspects of the game, and you've got to keep up with If you want to compete, and you want to be effective in competition, you've got to keep up with what's going on in the modern era. Because if you're doing what people were doing in 1995 and you enter a competition today, yeah, you can pull stuff off, but it's a different game.
Yeah.
It is. And if you don't respect how much the game's come on, it could be a real shocking wake-up call when you get on that mat and you go, yeah, I don't need that, I just need this, and that's all I need. But then you start moving over into that very what I call the death of all martial arts, where it's that very traditionalist approach of, I think it happened a lot with some styles of karate, maybe some styles of kung fu, of where my master 200 years ago did it this way, now you've got to do it that way. And it can't change because one guy set the precedent, and then after that, everyone has to do it. So you can't punch like this. Your hand's got to be exactly that way. And I found that because I come from a traditionalist background, so I'm not putting it down, because I love the traditional martial arts, and they've got a big role to play even nowadays. And all art should be respected, because everything has got its strong points and everything's got its weak points. Everything has, no matter what you do. But the thing is, if you go down that line, well, that's the way we did it then, so that's always going to be the best. But then we come back to that white belt mentality. So I was talking about, to be open-minded, to go, okay, I'll try it and see if it works. And an easy way, I think, is study the data. Look at what's happening in competition, because competition is the highest level that you're going to get. When you get two elite level athletes that train 4 times a day, 3, 4, 5 times a day, all their life is just jiu-jitsu, you're going to see the highest expression of that art, whether that's MMA, whether that's jiu-jitsu, going at each other. Which is different from like a street fight. That's another thing altogether, like the self-defense aspect. But if you're talking competitive, a competitive sporting environment, or the art itself done at the highest level, you'll see what works at that highest level. When you've got someone that knows the attack and they're resisting fully against it, and they're very game, and they've got a lot of heart and a lot of desire, and they're very mentally strong and won't just quit. What works under that type of pressure and under that type of resistance, and you'll see. And all you've got to do is you watch enough matches, the data's there, and it should be a thing of it's repeated again and again. Not because sometimes you'll get different things that will happen, and it's like once in a million. Like you'll watch a match, you see it once, and it's a beautiful move, but you never see it again. What I like to do is study matches and see the lines of where it happens again and again and again and again, and then you go, man, there's something to this. Yeah. Like the Danaher Death Squad guys did, with where they exposed the lack of high level footlock defenses and footlock attacks from a lot of other jiu-jitsu guys, and basically they come in with a very strong footlock game and exposed the weakness of a lot of other black belts, of where at that point in time they weren't up to that level. Now they are, but now they're changing the game again, so they're adjusting to where everyone's got good at defending the footlock and defending the leg lock. It's still as effective as it was, but people have got better at defending it. So then you start changing it again and start making it more about back attacks and different setups and stuff like that. But coming back to, it's just having that open-mindedness to kind of absorb and not think that, okay, we've done it this way for 10 years. And I think that's a big thing of ego, like I was saying earlier as well. No, we do it the best. I can't be told by anyone else that this is not work, because as jiu-jitsu we know as well, because it's there, it's on the mat. Does it work? Does it not? And that's what attracted me, I suppose, a lot to the art. Plus keeps me in it is it's not a lot of like, it's just hypothetical theory of, okay, yeah, well, my instructor said that this works, but I can never pull it off. You'll know, because you'll pull it off, or someone will pull it off on you. and there's the facts, man. I was trying my hardest. I was trying to stop him getting on my back. I was giving everything I had, and he could still get on my back, and he could still sink the choke in. I still had to tap. There's your proof, man. You were giving it everything you had, and he could still work his way through all your defenses and all your capabilities, and still sink the technical moving that he was after. So.
I mean, the mat doesn't lie. Like that's the other thing as well. Like, things, you will be exposed. Do you know what I mean? To an extent, it doesn't lie. Like, it's either good or it's not. Like, it's either going to work or it won't. Like, and it's that consistency as well. Because, like you said, if it's a one-time fluke, like, it's cool. It's nice to look at, but is it something that's gonna, put you up the rankings, win you loads of competitions and things like that, or was it just a one-off? And it's like, we need to focus on, say, the fundamentals and the basics and the little intricate parts that we know work, and try and fine-tune the things that we're a little bit unsure of. Do you know what I mean? To make them work and make them consistently work.
Oh, absolutely. And I always say that, trust, if you're a good academy, a good bit of advice is always, trust your instructor. To the point, question. I always say, don't believe me. I'll show you something. Question it. Go away. Try it. Man, I might not know what I'm talking about. I may be wrong myself. Try it. Come back. Then you say, oh, this isn't working. It may be a fault with your technique. You may have missed the detail. Or there may be something that you found that I didn't realise was there. Like, if he puts the hand there, it stops it. And I'll go, oh, that's interesting. I've never seen anyone do that before. That's good for me, because then I can take that and use that as information to make the technique better. And that's the thing, is kind of, you've always got to have that and be open. And that's what I always say, is take that ego out of it, and that kind of take yourself out of it and look at it as the facts itself. That way we can always push the art forward,
I think that was, just touching on technique, I think that was one of the things that I was most surprised with, about if your technique's just slightly off, it ain't gonna work. Do you know what I mean? Or it might work, but not as good as it should work. So we were obviously doing takedowns, and the other day, and putting your hand on their knee and kind of lifting your head up to bow them over almost. Well, I was putting my hand up just in between the knee and the hip bone, and I was like, why isn't it working? And then the guy I was rolling about with was like, I'll put it on the knee, mate. Like,
from the double leg.
And I was just like,
it's because but you're too high. You haven't got the leverage to stop him hopping with the leg. Huh? And it is, and that's the thing. And it's kind of like you'll watch it, and then you absorb it, then go to apply it, and then you'll go, and in your brain, the filter's gone, this is exactly the way my hand should have been, but your hand should have been down here, not up there. But I always say that. I was talking about this yesterday in the class, where, like, trust you should always, trust your instructor. If you believe in what your team's doing and all the people you got around you at your academy, trust in what they're saying, especially, if he's spent 10, 15 years getting to that black belt and he's teaching. It's not, hardest belt to get, martial arts belt, black belt to get in the universe is the jiu-jitsu one. So, trust what they're saying. And I was touching on yesterday about, sometimes things online, because there's so much information out there, as we know in the modern era, but there's some that's really good and some misinformation. And sometimes I was saying, you've got to be aware of when people put, I think, because I've seen a lot of it now and again, where you'll get certain people put sequences up that look beautiful, like they're very intricate, and they're going back and taking it back and spinning over and going upside down, and it's like, man, if I could pull that off, I'd look so cool. But I always say, the thing is, what I was saying to the people is, what you got to ask yourself is, that's cool, but show me some footage of you working that, not with your friend on the mat where he's letting you do it, but pulling that off at, a competition where the guy doesn't want to let you do it. Or like in a role where the guy is, he's not making you look good for the camera, but he's fully resisting, and you pull it off again and again and again. Then I'll believe in it. But you've got to be, I always think with some people, YouTube is one of the best things, or Facebook is one of the best things for information of jiu-jitsu. What someone done yesterday in the World Championships, you can learn tomorrow by watching it on the internet now. But back when I started, man, there was none of that. It was just little bits of information here and there that you kind of had to take and then grow from. But you've got to be careful that the things that you're training, you know, because you could put 100 hours into that move and it's going to be super hard to pull off against someone that's at a very high level. So I always think is, yeah, if you do see stuff like that, question or say to yourself, okay, I want to see the footage of this guy pulling it off against someone that's fully resistant, or he pulls it off in a high level competition. Man, if you show me that, fair enough, you've proved that you can make it work. But I always think you've got to be careful of that. If it's a technique that you've seen that you like, is it just the person demonstrating it to get hits on his site or get people to kind of watch his video? Or because there's an easy way, right? Make something look beautifully complicated, like it's like a Jedi move, and people go, wow, that looks so great, because visually it's very pleasing. But some of the best things in jiu-jitsu, like Hickson Grace would always say, it's invisible. You can't even actually see it, like pressure, stuff like that. You film someone and it looks very basic what they're doing, but there's so many hidden details that the eye can't even pick up. And I think at that level, that's where a lot of the true high level jiu-jitsu is. It would be someone like myself. I always, you know, and for me, it's a massive compliment because I'm not a heavy guy, I never have been, but I'll roll with people. And one of the biggest things everyone comments on is, man, you're so heavy. You're heavier than the guy over there that's like double your size. When I roll with you, it feels like you're like 25 stone crushing me into the mat. And I always go, how much you weigh? And I'm like 75 to 80, depending on if I've eaten too many pies that week or not. And they're like, man, but you feel like super heavy, which is a great compliment because that's technique, but you can't see that unless you roll with certain people. But that is a technique in itself. You know, it takes time. You can kind of learn it, but then you've got to spend years with the subtlety and the weight distribution and the relaxation to make yourself heavy under stressful situations. But yeah, and I think sometimes some people will watch footage of certain people like a Hodger Gracie or a Hickson Gracie and people like that and go, yeah, man, that's really basic what they're doing. I learned that in my first week of jiu-jitsu. Like you see someone like Hodger and it's like what he does is basic, but I always say to people, do not be fooled. Yes, the technique that he's doing is a basic technique that you would learn in your first few months of jiu-jitsu, but he's doing it to the highest level. It's the basics done at the absolute highest level. And that's what I always want myself is, you know, like Bruce Lee would say, don't fear the man that's, you know, done 5,000, you know, done 5,000 kicks 10 times each.
Yeah.
Fear the man that's done 5 kicks 50,000 times.
Yeah.
You know, because, and that's the thing, is it's not about the flashness of the technique. It's, can you make that work in a combat situation, whether that's in a sport environment or whether that's in self-defense? Can you rely on it? And does it work against everyone as well? It's no good if it just works. Oh, it works on this guy is my weight and that guy that is a white belt and I'm a purple belt, and it works on them guys. But yeah, but the guy over there that's like super heavyweight, it doesn't work on him. I always want to try and find for myself techniques that work as much as possible against every type of body, every type of person, no matter whether they're tall, thin, wide, heavy, short, you know, aggressive, you know, they play a lot of defense, whatever it is, whatever type of person it is. They're the techniques that I want that will work across the board, because they're the ones that I can rely on. So because someone like Horace Gracie always says, man, you don't get to pick the fight picks you. If you're out in the street, someone bumps into you and you look up at him and he's 6'4", going, yeah, you got a problem, mate. And you're like, no, I haven't got a problem. I'm sorry, I bumped into you, whichever. But he won't let it go, and then he tries to physically assault you. Man, you don't get to choose that. You don't get to choose how good he is what size he is, how strong he is. You just hope at that moment in time that the techniques that you've been practicing with your friends in the academy are going to serve you and are going to keep you safe. And even, and it's not about winning. That's the thing. That's one of the misconceptions that with us in jiu-jitsu, we always say, man, the main thing is we're not saying we can beat everybody. The thing is, our thing is that if we're in a self-defense situation, is to be able to go home at the end of the night, not end up in hospital or worse. And if we can go home safe, just nullify the attack and go home without serious damage to ourselves, we win. That's the thing. True. Because it's not about winning or losing. It's just about being able to defend yourself. And defending yourself doesn't mean beating the other person into a pulp. Defending yourself means you don't get beaten into a pulp. That's what it means to me. I don't have to prove anything to anyone. Man, all I need to do is make sure that I don't get severely injured, whether that's in the self-defense or whether I can defend myself well enough going for a gold medal at some competition.
What advice would you give to someone who's new to jiu-jitsu? Don't overcomplicate it. I was saying this to a guy that was training today, and I find myself saying it a lot to a lot of the white belts, is just do. It's kind of that thing. Just like when you got your instructor, it almost sounds a bit kind of harsh, but just do exactly what it says on the tin. Do exactly what your instructor, your professor, whatever, your sensei, do exactly what they showed you. Don't start adding other stuff on. It's one of the biggest things that I see. I'll show something. I know it's not just me. I know this will probably be everywhere, no matter what gym it is. The instructor will show something and they walk around the class and they come back and then they go, Paul, it's not working, this, that. And they've added 4 other moves on to the move itself. Yeah. And they'd be like, no, I said, just put the hand here and there. And they go, yeah, but if I do this, it's like, no, just do it that way. You're complicating the movement. So the thing is, I was saying to a guy earlier this morning in the class, I said, look, the thing is, just do it the most simple version that you can do. Try really to simplify it even more so. Put the hand here, do that, go for the sweep. Then when you've got the ABCs down of the movement itself, not even today, like 3 months from now, when you've practiced it and you're like, yeah, I know this move now inside out. Then at that point, later down the road, then start adding stuff to it because you understand the structure of what you're dealing with. But what I find, what hinders a lot of people is they take the move and they try and maybe overcomplicate it. And that will hold them back because they're essentially starting to confuse themselves. And if you're not sure, put your hand up. If you're a white belt trainer with a white belt and the other white belt's trying to tell you how to do it, and you've got a black belt or a purple belt or a brown belt standing on the side coaching, ask them. Because I know everyone tries to help each other, but this is another issue as well with coaching inside of an academy. We all love to help each other, and I'm a big promoter of that. We should all be helping each other get the best technique. But if it's the first time you've learned it, it's possible that you might not understand all the details correctly. Then you're going, oh no, mate, yeah, now put your hand here, and yeah, I'm sure the coach said put it that way round, but you're giving misinformation. Then when one of the coaches or professors comes over and says, no, do it this way, you've confused your training partner because he's got 2 versions in his head. The best thing you can always do, if you're not sure, they're not sure, you just say, just ask whoever's taking the session to show you it again. Yeah. And that way it's very clear. And that's another thing that can hold people back is you're listening to some guy that's just learnt the technique for the first time himself as well. It's possible he could have it perfect, but it's possible he might be slightly off. One, simplify it. Take your time. Do not rush. And one of the hardest things to ever do in jiu-jitsu is relax. That's got to be the hardest thing ever, but it's going to be one of the best things you can ever do is relax, take your time,
Don't try to muscle it. And I understand, because I always say to people that I understand why new people to jiu-jitsu muscle stuff a lot, because, man, you haven't got the technique yet. So when you're fighting, if you're rolling and you're fighting with someone and you've got to get out of position, you haven't got the technical capability to do it. So the only thing in your brain will go, man, if I really push this guy, bench press him, it's possible I could get him off the top of me. Yes, and sometimes it works, but then, it stops. It either tires you out, so you're kind of, oh my god, I can't do this anymore. But you're practicing the wrong way of doing it, and even though it might work now and again, it's not sustainable. Especially, and it won't work against good guys either. All it's going to do is put you in worse positions. The best thing to do is just, relax. And the thing is like we're saying, is not having that ego to just go, okay, fair enough, let's go again. You know what I mean? It's just like a video game. It's just kind of like, okay, if I'm playing a video game and it's hard and I die at that level, like get tapped out at that level, okay, reset, we go again. And I just keep on doing it again and again and again until I work out the pathways and the maps and all the different little holes and what I've got to pick up and do this, and I've got to put my hand here and I've got to do that, and then I've got to solve this puzzle to get out of here, this room. Then you work that out, but you can't force your way out. And just take your time and realize to kind of just enjoy yourself and enjoy, as we say, it's used a lot, just to enjoy the journey. And just be happy to be on the mats. That's one of the main things. Don't try and rush it. Things happen at the right time. I think a lot of things why people quit as well is because they feel that, oh man, I should be here already and I'm not, or I should have this belt already and I haven't got it. And that becomes more the focus of the things that they want. I want another degree, or I feel that I should have had this belt 2 months ago, or I feel I should be better than I am now. And this guy's all, everyone's better than me. I feel that it's taking me a lot longer to learn this than other people. And you get that as well. But what you've got is incubation of different people learn things at different rates. I've noticed that some people, you'll teach, and you'll go, man, I'm not sure this guy's, he seems to really struggle. He's not getting it as easy as the other guys. And then a year later, all of a sudden, it just drops, the penny drops. And all of a sudden, bang, and you go, man, where did that guy come from? I see that a lot with kids sometimes. When we teach kids, you go, they're messing about, you go, I'm sure they're not paying attention. Then all of a sudden, boom, and they do it, and you're like, man, why don't they do that all the time? But it goes in. That's the thing. And some people, their way of processing it is different. They take it in, and they won't necessarily use it that day. It may take them a few months. It's like I say, you'll learn it today, but you won't really be good at it maybe till a month, 2 months, 6 months down the line, because it's a processing. It's just like your computer processes information. It takes time to download it. Some people pick techniques up like that. They learn it in the beginning of the class, they're tapping people out of it by the end of the class. But that's not everyone. So you can't judge yourself next to anyone else and go, man, I should be as good as Joe. We started on the same day. How comes he's better than me? Then that makes you want to quit, maybe, because you feel like, oh man, jiu-jitsu is not for me, it's too difficult, and you start making all them excuses. Jiu-jitsu is really simple. I was saying this earlier on in the class that, jiu-jitsu is one of them things. It's as difficult or as simple as you make it, like life. It's the same thing. There's so many parallels. You can make life as difficult. You can make it as hard on yourself as possible. You can make it as overcomplicated as you want, or you can make it as simple as you want. It's your choice. And jiu-jitsu is the same. You can make it very simple, or you can make it super complicated. But that's your choice. And then what you get from that is a direct response to how you address it. So if you make it super complicated and all the moves that you do are super complicated, then every time you roll, you've got to do super complicated moves. If you make it more about a simple, a grab, simple passing game. I mean, one of the best examples we've got on the mat for stuff like that is, Big John Rose. You know, John? Yeah. Doesn't move quick. He's like, I think he's near 60 now, maybe 60, I'm not sure. Big guy, he's got a lot of health issues, stuff like that. He's been in judo for like 30 plus years. He's a purple belt at our academy now. But man, he doesn't move quick for anyone. And he just, like that, slow little game, grab your leg, push it to the mat, pass. But his game is very simple. But you watch how many people just can't. He does it at such a good level. He does the same thing over and over again. Which, no, I hassle him to play a bit more guard, play a bit more this, because he's, if it's like anything, if you want to reach a black belt in a system, you've got to understand the whole system, be able to play the whole system. You can't just play what you want to play all the time. You've got to at least have an understanding of all positions. But he does go into that comfort zone. But what he does is so basic. But, man, he gives everyone a hard time with that, me included. He'll do that. He'll start giving me a hard time. And I know what he's going to do, but he does it so well that you find yourself getting like dragged into that game. And then you go, oh, my God, he's dragging me into his game. But once you're pulled into that little web, because he plays that game better than you do defensively, he plays that attacking game better than your defenses, it's very difficult to get out of that game once you get dragged into it. But that's a really good example of he's got a handful of moves, literally probably 3-4 moves that he does that is so hard to beat because he does it so well. And it's very simple. There's no complicated moves what he does. And he can take the guy on the mat with the most complicated modern game and draw it straight back to basics and pull him into that move. And it's fascinating to watch because he hasn't got the speed. I mean, yeah, he's a big guy. He's got the strength, but he hasn't got the speed, hasn't got the agility. He's not going to out cardio you, but he will just grip and pull you straight into his game. And then once you're there, it's going to be difficult to escape that web. Yeah. So that's what I find.
Yeah. Can you give me 10 seconds? I've got a couple more questions for you. I just need to kick the dog out of the room because she's snoring.
No worries. We good?
Sorted. She's being a pain. I could hear her snoring away.
Awesome.
Yeah. So obviously, I've heard through the grapevine that you're planning on competing again.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully.
And obviously, you've had a hip operation and some other sort of health issues.
Yeah.
So why have you decided to compete again and make that decision? What's kind of stopped you from retiring and maybe quitting?
Well, I think a lot of things I was saying earlier, it's about the journey. And like I always say to people, it's kind of like, I'm not in the box yet. So if I can, I will, because, I'm one of them people. I've won. I would like at some point to try and do the World Masters if I can. And I'm very honest with myself. I mean, I've had a full hip replacement. Some bit more like the Terminator nowadays with the amount of metal in my body and stuff like that. And it's one of them things that, man, if I can do it, I will, just to kind of push myself and possibly it's like we always want to inspire other people to kind of, man, if he can do it, he's done this. And that kind of drives me as well. And in that sense of, I've got my son Neo and stuff like that. And, for me, it's about as much as doing it like for my own self in that sense, to see what's possible for me. And to see if I can do it it was almost like a challenge to see, can I make like some type of comeback to competition or not? And I'm honest with myself as well, because I strained my groin of where the hip replacement is a few weeks back, and I had to take some time off of rolling and stuff like that. And it's hard because when things like that happen, because I was doing so well, so well, so well. There's a couple of twinges I had a couple of times when I was rolling with some guys that were like, quite a bit heavier than me. So then I adjusted, stopped going with such heavy guys and went with guys more my own size and a little bit lighter, so I wouldn't strain the recovery, because I only had the hip replacement done in April. And they said I probably wouldn't even get back on the mats, any type of rolling, till now.
Yeah.
And I was back on the mats, like doing what I could, teaching stuff within inside of 2 weeks, within inside of a couple of months, I was starting to roll and stuff like that. And I was doing really well. And just moving my leg when I was rolling a couple of weeks ago, not even in any weird position, just straight up like that with my leg, it went and it pulled a little bit. And when things like that happen, it's it does get you down. You think, oh man, I've made such a great recovery, and then this thing happens and puts me right back, and then you start questioning yourself, like, am I fooling myself? And if this is happening in training, there's no way I can make a return to any type of high level competition. But the thing is, if I think like that, I'm just going to stop where I am and not push myself forward. And the thing is, I've been before my operation, I started to lift on a strength program and stuff like that I put together. And since then, I've put a lot of I put more size on, a lot more weight to strengthen my body, not because I want to be a bodybuilder or anything like that, or I want to be like some big yoked dude. It's just to protect, obviously, my hip. The stronger I am, the stronger my frame is and the muscles are around the hip, the more likely it is that I can my body can handle the stressful situations that takes when you're training and competing, because it'd be able to hold everything in a lot stronger. So it will but basically bulletproof it against a lot of stuff. The stronger I am, the more that will help. But like I was saying, for me in my head, it's been a process of, okay, first of all, I did all my strength training before, made sure I was doing a lot of deadlifts, making sure my legs and my back, my hips were as strong as possible before the operation. And then afterwards, it was like, okay, now the operation's happening. Now you do it bit by bit. That's what I've just been trying to do. Okay, I've got to get through the the physiotherapy. First of all, I've got to try and walk, then try and get up off a seat, then try and go to the toilet when you kind of, everything's bruised to death and you can't even sit down properly. Then get through the physiotherapy. Then is it even possible to move on the mat and do some of the movements that I did before? Then after that, can I start lifting any type of weights without damaging any repair work that's going on? So I've been working through, and the guy that did my operation is one of the best guys out there. Hugh Athorpe, his name is. He's one of the best surgeons out there. I heard, I'm not sure if it's true, I heard he did Andy Murray's hip. So he's really, really good. And he was shocked and, very, very proud because of the work effort that I put in, how quick my recovery was from A to B. It was like, he said he's never really seen anyone recover as quick as I had, which a lot, I think, is mentality. Because I was saying to my wife Ali before, I'll be back on the mat in a couple of weeks. She went, well, you can't say that. I said, yeah, I will be. I'll be back on the mat teaching, doing this, doing that. He said, you've not had the operation. You can't really say that. But the only reason why I was saying it is because I'm telling myself that. If I tell myself and tell everyone else that, I hold myself to a higher account. But then if I say that out loud and put it out there in the universe, as they say, for me, it's more likely to happen. If I keep it to myself, then I can forget about it and no one will go, oh, you said that you was going to be doing this now and you haven't. So that way it's putting a little bit of pressure on myself to say that I'm going to do it, and then obviously, follow through and actually do it. So, and this is another thing of why I say, man, I want to try and make a return if I can to competition. But I will know just by the rigors of training, because obviously before a competition training gets more and more intense, that if it does twinge or I pull it or I feel that it's not up to it, that's fine. I'll retire. I'm good either way, because I want to do jiu-jitsu until I'm 95 years old. So if that's the case, I can't ruin myself physically in any shape or form just for a gold medal, because the gold medal is not worth it. I always say to everyone, gold medals are great, but within time they rust. So they're gold one day and they turn to rust within 10 years. And me myself, I've won lots of different medals and this, that, and the other. I won't bore anyone with what I've won. It doesn't really matter, or won or lost or whichever. But all my medals, whether they're British ones, English, European, stuff like that, they're upstairs in a bag in my sock drawer. They're not even out. I don't have any up. You know, it's in the academy. There's no medals up. There's no paraphernalia of me or anything, because I always say to everyone, it's not about me. It's about the learning environment, and it's about making it as our academy as positive as possible. But if I can make a return to competition, I'm trying my hardest to get there, and if I can make it happen, I will. And it's that thing is to kind of try to, you know, inspire not just like the students, but things like my son maybe in the future will look back and go, man, you know, even with a hip replacement, my dad kind of returned to competition and gave it his all and stuff like that. And I think sometimes that can have a great effect on people around you. If they see that you're willing to step up and do it and willing to put it on the line, it kind of inspires other people maybe to do the same. And for people that maybe have had operations and have been athletes, and they may have the same thing like a hip operation and go, man, this is it. There's no way I can return to competition. It's over now. But if there's someone, maybe like myself or someone else that does do it, it'd be like me knowing that someone has gone through the same thing and they're competing. I go, man, that would give me some confidence. And I may even contact that person and ask them how they did it and what process they went through and the mindset and stuff like that. Because it's not easy. It's not easy. And it can be, I think if you let it control you and dictate what you can and can't do, then, you know, you'll never get to where is maybe possible. You know what I mean? And this kind of, so that's why I will keep on pushing. I'm hoping to compete if I'm healthy and if my hip's in a good place and I feel strong. Like March next year, there's the Emirates London Grand Slam, which is obviously in London in March next year in 2020, and I'm hoping to give that a go if I feel strong enough. If not, I'll lay it off and I'll do something later on in the year. Because I've been contacted by a few different sub-only shows already. This was like a month or 2 months after I had my operation, and I got called out by a couple of different people that wanted to kind of match me. And I'm thinking, man, do they know that maybe they do know that I've just got a hip operation. They just want to beat me up, maybe want to like kind of leg lock me or something. But I was like, yeah, it's not going to happen yet. But even still, so there's possibility to maybe do that as well. Maybe some more, because the sub only stuff really does interest me, especially no gi. But I'll see, and if not, I'll lay it off, and it'll take as long as it takes. But I'm slowly, the same thing again, like I was saying, I take my time. Slowly I'll move up and you know, and try to get there. The same type of advice like you were saying, I would give to like a white belt. You know, take your time, take it slowly, step by step. You know, don't let your ego get involved, because it's like me. Sometimes I want to roll, and it's like when I twinge my hip, man, I still want to roll, but I've got to say, okay, now it's time to rest, and I'll roll next week, and you know, or if it's not right, then I'll roll the week after. But these are challenges I think that we have as we get older as well. I'm not as young as springtime anymore, so I've got to kind of take care of my body more and pace myself. As I say to a lot of people, it's like a marathon. You just got to pace. You know, don't think it's a sprint and I get there. That's okay if you're only going to be in a sport or the art for a couple of years and win loads of medals and then leave and do something else. Yeah, that's fair enough. But for someone like myself and for a lot of people that do jiu-jitsu, once you get into it, you want to be doing it forever. Yeah, it's a marathon. There's no rush. There's no rush. And it's like I said, I'm honest with myself. If I don't make a return to competition, that's fine. That's fine. Because I'd rather protect my body and be healthy rather than try and, let my ego write the checks and try and do something that I should have left alone. And because you see that sometimes with fighters or people that just, I just want to win one more match. I want to win the championship again. And they should have retired 5 years ago, and that's fine because first and foremost, I'm a coach and I'm a teacher. The competing is a secondary to me. That's more a personal challenge to myself. That's all it is, But the teaching, that's my true passion, is helping people. Not it's nothing about me. I prefer to show up at the academy and see people grow, and in jiu-jitsu, as they say, it does change lives. I've seen it over and over again. The longer I do it for, the more people I see it change. I used to think, when I used to hear that a lot, people used to turn around and go, "Oh man, jiu-jitsu changes lives, and this will change your life." Because you hear that through mass media campaigns of when they're trying to sell you, like washing powder. "Oh man, this will change your life. This thing or insurance. This will, you sign up to this. This will change your life." And a lot of it is just BS. A lot of it is just to sell their products. But with jiu-jitsu, I've seen it over and over and over again. It's a weird thing. It helps people mentally, physically, and it does. It changes. For what I've seen, it changes everyone's life for the better. It really does. So for me, I can't promote it enough. Obviously, I'm selling my own product in that sense, but I really can't promote it enough. To anyone who's never tried jiu-jitsu, give it a go. Don't kind of view it on what you see. I think some people come into the academy, they see people rolling around, they're like, "Oh, it's like Cuddle Club. I don't really get this. Why are people just rolling around on the floor?" It's just, that's not for me. I always say, jump in, give it a go. Then when you feel it, like we were saying earlier, when you feel what it is, when you've got someone who's 10 stone that feels 300 pounds on top of you, you're going, "Why is this small guy? I can't even get him off the top of me." Then that's when it impresses you. And that's when people go, if they're intelligent, they go, "Man, this guy's half my size and I couldn't do anything with him." Then you go, "Man, I want that skill set. I want to be able to do that." Because I know if someone double my size tries to physically attack me in a bar when I'm out on New Year's Eve, I've got a good chance of trying to defend myself. And like I was saying earlier, so I can go home to my family at the end of the night and not end up in hospital. And that's the gift of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of inspiring just to hear that you're even thinking about competing after you've had, a hip operation. I think that's mad, and it just shows, obviously, like you said, with that kind of law of attraction process where you're kind of putting it out there, you're making a commitment to yourself, and then, hopefully, fingers crossed for you, it all unfolds as you want it to, basically.
Yeah, it'd be nice. It's obviously Joe Rogan says, write your own movie, right? Write your own story. It's kind of that thing, and everyone should. Everyone's got the potential to do whatever they want to do within reason, obviously. But everyone, it's like I always say, people put a ceiling on themselves. What's the ceiling? Why put a ceiling on something? Like for what you can learn when someone says you're not smart enough to do something or you're not capable enough to do this and do that. Test it, see if you can, see if you can't. But, it's that thing. If you put the level here, that's where you'll reach. Always put it well beyond that, because then you'll easily go past this. And even if you don't get to that highest level, you would have bypassed the level that everyone quoted or thought that you was worth. You know what I mean? So go, yeah, man, maybe everyone's saying that I can only reach this, but I'm going to shoot for this. You will bypass that very easily if that's the case. So, yeah, there should be no ceiling to anything. I never understand that, the ceiling of something. Yeah, well, you can only get to here. Yeah, I understand sometimes, not everyone can do everything they think they can. X Factor and, stuff like that is a good example of you know, people that want to be something, but they've not put in, you know, the correct work, or they just haven't got the natural talent to be the mega star that they want to be. And we've got to be honest with ourselves at the same time, and realize that, and kind of know, and you know, I'm a true believer in everyone has got different skills, you know, and maybe the one that you pick for yourself isn't maybe not the correct one, you know, and to kind of play around and find different things that you are interested in, because I believe that, you know, everyone can be, you know, great at anything, but it's finding that thing, finding the thing that you obsessed about, you know. Because me with jiu-jitsu, I've got a very obsessive personality. Is in, if I find something, it's like with jiu-jitsu, I watch it all the time, I study it all the time. Every day I'm studying different moves that I can, like, either teach in class or make better for myself, and I never stop. I'm always thinking about it, always studying, and that's the thing. And but it's easy for me because I love doing it, and that's why I know it's right, because it's not even like hard work. If I wasn't teaching, if I was just doing, I'd be studying it still. So that's why I know that it's the right thing, because you don't have to pay me to do it. I do it for free, as I did for years when jiu-jitsu was first in the UK. No one wanted to do it. Well, there was people that wanted to do it, but it's very select few people, because everyone still wanted to do karate and all that stuff, and stuff they knew. No one really knew what jiu-jitsu was, so it was a hard sell, you know, to get people in, and just watching people roll around on the ground with pajamas on and stuff like that. No one really understood. And then you try to make a reference to the UFC and Hoist Gracie and stuff like that, and then people would be like, no, go like Ultimate Fighting Show, no, like cage fight. But then when you say cage fight, and people don't really want to get involved anyway, because then they think all you're going to do is beat them up. But yeah, it was a hard sell. Now, like I was saying, it's a different era. I mean, you get kids that come in now that want to do jiu-jitsu. They know what it is. It might be the back off of the UFC, but they've heard it with people like Joe Rogan saying BJJ, black belt, BJJ, jiu-jitsu this, jiu-jitsu that, you know, through the microphone at every single UFC event, and talking about it on his podcast as we're talking about on this one. The message gets out there, and now you'll see kids that will come in a first class, do a back take, or from the guard, try a triangle choke. They've never done a class in their life. I mean, go back 20 years, all people would know was, you know, I'm gonna put my hands up and it's gonna be a fist fight. Now you've got people that will, like, even kids that, yeah, they'll fight you with their fists, but they'll double leg you and take you to the ground and try and mount you, and you know, and do it as what they've seen on TV or on the UFC. So I always say to people, now as a self-defense system, it's more important nowadays to learn jiu-jitsu than ever before, because you've got people that don't even train that know how to grapple a little bit because they messed about with their friends when they were 13, 14, 15. So they know kind of what to expect. So it's even more important to learn it because there's more dangers. Now, when you fight someone, you've not even just got to worry about them standing up and going, yeah, let's just have a stand up with your fists. Then they'll punch you, then they'll grab you, and then all of a sudden they're on your back trying to strangle you, you know, because they're just replicating what they've seen. Like people would have done in the 70s and 80s watching kung fu and karate movies. They just like replicate like high kicks. They might not know what they're doing, but they could be successful with it. So it's the same thing. Nowadays, it's even more important to know how to do jiu-jitsu, to defend against them people that do it badly. You know, but if you don't know anything, that their version of bad could be good compared to you, if that makes sense. You know, and it could put you in a dangerous situation.
Yeah, man, I agree. People should learn at least some form of self-defense within their lifetime, anyways. But I'm kind of all out of questions for you.
Okay, that's cool.
Is there anything you'd like to add at all, or you got time now to promote yourself, where to find you? I'll put all the links in the description below anyway, so if people want to come and check you out or contact you for podcast interviews, they can. But yeah, advertise yourself, mate, and the product and everything.
Yeah, the product's just jiu-jitsu. Yeah, I mean, you can contact us on graciebarhastings.com. If you go on the website, there's a contact with the email there. If you've got any questions or whichever, I mean, we're on Facebook. You can find us at graciebarhastings.com or on Instagram at graciebarhastings. Yeah, you can contact us on there. If it's easier to use the website, if you use that and you've got any questions, you can use the email on there. My wife picks up them emails and stuff like that, and we contact you straight back with any questions that you've got. Yeah, but I'll say where we are, it's a very, from my point of view, it's very professional, very welcoming to everyone, no matter what age. It's like we say, we start classes from 3 years old, and our oldest, I think, is 77 years old in the over 50s class. So we go, when we say like jiu-jitsu for everyone, we mean it's for everyone. So we've got people like in the 70s training, which is mainly like the self-defense syllabus, but we've also got like our elite squad training that we do weekly as well, where people that are wanting to step it up to like the highest competitive level, we do sessions like that as well. So we've got a broad view for everyone, from kids from 3 all the way up to teenage years into adults. We've got lots and lots of girls training now, which is great influence from my wife, because obviously she's a black belt as well that teaches at the school. And I think that when girls come in, sometimes if it's just like what I used to have, where it would be just myself teaching, it's just a very male oriented kind of environment. But now, obviously, with my wife teaching sessions as well, and we're there together teaching and team teaching the sessions, they can see, okay, I can do that as well. Like I was saying, it's very inspiring. I think for some of the girls to see that it's just, it's not a sport that's dominated with men. It's one of them sports which I think we're proud of in jiu-jitsu nowadays, of that it's, from what it used to be to where it is now, it's very much, both on equal levels. The girls and the guys are on a completely, like, especially when you watch anything on like the world stage, whether that's submission only or the world championships, the women and the men are on the same level. Unlike some sports, it's still very uneven. With jiu-jitsu, we promote that. And for me personally, I always say to the girls, I actually prefer watching the girls compete in the sport. I mean, they're so, from my own point of view, when I watch them, they're so much more technical and dynamic than some of the guys that fight. So from a technical point of view, I mean, the women are sometimes the most entertaining and interesting to watch. Yeah, but like I was saying, it's the gym's open 6 days a week. We've got lessons in the morning, we've got lessons in the evening, we've got lessons at the weekend. We've got all different age group kids lessons. So depending on their age, we don't just put all the kids into one whole lesson. We break it up into age groups, which works the best, especially for the ability that they need. But if anyone wants to come down, first lesson's free, trial lesson, no obligation. Yeah, just come down, take a class, and it'd be great to meet you.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you coming on and chatting with me, man. It's been an honour to listen to you talk. And
I talk a lot, right?
No, it's good, mate. I like to listen. Like, that's, I think, one of my key skills is, I think I'm quite good at listening. So it was. It
helps. We're a good team then.
Yeah.
I talk a lot and you listen a lot. There you go.
I do as I'm told, and you preach it. It's all good. But no, yeah, I'll put all your all the links in the description below anyway.
Oh, that'd be great.
That'd be cool. And I'll chat with you off camera in a minute anyway. So yeah, let's wrap this up. But cheers for coming on, man.
Cool. Okay. Thanks.